All right, let me start with a confession. I used to study like a topper, and it was ruining me. Meant I did everything we're told is right. Long hours, perfect notes, highlighting everything. No breaks until my brain felt fried. And somehow, my grades weren't getting better. They were getting worse. If that sounds familiar, stay with me because the moment I stopped studying like a topper, my grades actually went up. Towson colinus. Here's what I mean. I thought toppers were machines. You know the type? First bench, color-coded notes, studying 6 hours straight without complaining. So I copied them. I'd sit down at 6 p.m., open my book, and force myself to be disciplined. 1 hour in, I was tired. I was the same page. Hour in, I would 2 hours in, I was rereading the same page. 3 hours in, I hated the subject and myself, but I'd still keep going because stopping felt like failure. And the worst part, yeah, after all that effort, I couldn't remember anything in exams. That's when burnout hit. Meaned I started procrastinating more, scrolling instead of studying, feeling guilty the whole time. And that's when I realized something important. Blance, the way toppers study, is not how most people's brains work. And I was trying to force a system that wasn't built for me. So I did something scary. I stopped studying like a topper, not because I became lazy, but because I got honest. Bon, here's the first shift that changed everything. I stopped chasing long hours and started chasing clarity. Land before, I'd say, I studied 6 hours today. Now I ask, do I actually understand this? You know, huge difference, Tambicha. Because studying for hours feels productive, understanding feels uncomfortable. So I switched my goal. Instead of finishing chapters, I aim to explain concepts out loud. If I couldn't explain it, simply, I didn't understand it. Billions. That alone exposed how much time I was wasting before. Quick pause here. This part hurts the ego. Pompous because you realize you weren't bad at studying, you were just busy. Next shift. I stopped making perfect notes. Yeah, that one hurt. I used to rewrite textbooks, neat headings, multiple colors, Pete-level notes. They looked amazing. They did nothing for my grades, so I tried something different. Messy notes, ugly handwriting, just keywords and rough explanations. And instead of rewriting, I tested myself, cleansed the book, asked questions, tried to recall. It felt harder, slower, more frustrating. But that's the point. Your brain grows when it struggles a little, not when it's copying. Ban. Here's something no one tells you. Toppers don't win because they work harder. They win because they waste less effort. And that brings me to the biggest change. Lumbia. I stopped studying when I was tired. This sounds obvious, but most students ignore it. I used to push through exhaustion, thinking discipline meant suffering, but studying while tired is like pouring water into a leaking bucket. Benegis. So now, when my focus drops, I stop, short break, walk, stretch, even a nap. And when I come back, I actually absorb things. This alone cut my study time almost in half, mini cliffhanger moment. Blum, this next part changed my exams the most. I stopped studying to feel prepared and started studying to be tested. Before exams, I'd revise again and again because it felt safe. But exams don't test comfort. They test recall under pressure. So I practice that. Timed questions, Kunstbook summaries, explaining answers without looking. At first, my scores were bad, really bad, but slowly my brain adapted. By exam day, you know, the pressure felt familiar, you know, and suddenly exams weren't terrifying anymore. Now let's talk about something emotional. Comparison. I stopped comparing my study style to toppers. This was huge. Some people can study 8 hours straight. Some can't. Mold. That doesn't mean you're weak. It means you're human. Once I accepted that, you know, I stopped fighting myself. Bondia. I built a system that fit my energy, my attention span, my reality. And guess what happened? I studied less, okay, but learned more. My grades improved, not overnight, but steadily. More importantly, I didn't hate studying anymore. If you're watching this at 2 a.m., feeling behind, feeling guilty, feeling like everyone else has it figured out, Damayates, hear this. You're not bad at studying. You're just using someone else's method. Try this tonight. Dean one topic. No rewriting, no perfection. Close the book. Explain it out loud. Take breaks before burnout. Oh, stop when your brain says stop. Study smarter, not like a topper. Like you. Quick recap before we end. All myths. Long hours don't equal learning. Perfect notes don't equal understanding. Pain isn't proof of productivity. Clarity beats effort. Okay, recall beats rereading, rest beats burnout. If this helped you even a little, share it with someone who's struggling silently, and if you're ready to stop forcing yourself into systems that don't work, stick around. We're leveling up together.